Good afternoon. I'd like to call this meeting of the Urbanus Market at the Square Advisory Board to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Balahi?
Here.
Ms. Blaylock is excused. Mr. Kleiss?
Here.
Ms. Marlin?
Here.
Mr. Miles?
Here.
Mr. Shetty?
Here.
Ms. Welter is excused. And Mr. Carlin?
Here. Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. Do we have a new member today? Would you like to introduce him?
Well, this is Brian Curlin. He's with Antique Sterling Spoon Rings. This is your third year at the Farmers Market in Urbana?
I might have caught to be part of an earlier. I'll call it 4.
Okay. And so Brian will be joining us as the seat on the advisory board reserved specifically for art and craft vendors. So if you'd like to say a little bit about yourself, if folks don't know you.
Oh my gosh, I had no prepared remarks, but I was born at what used to be Mercy Hospital in 1946 in Urbana, so that's a good starting point, but I'll leave out most of the details between then and now. I've been in education a good part of my life, otherwise lots of areas in social services. I was a counselor in the old county jail. I guess it's still there, but a counselor in that jail talking to inmates for 4 or 5 years, which greatly added to my appreciation for the law-abiding life. And otherwise, I was in Florida for almost 20 years. I came back to town about 5 years ago to be near my children and grandchildren. I have 2 children and 4 grandchildren that live right over here in East Urbana, not far from Lincoln Square, our favorite part of town. And I live off of East Main Street in Urbana. Enjoy the market. I participated in a lot of markets in Florida. One of my reasons for volunteering to be on the board is that I have quite a bit of personal experience with a wide range of market venues, mostly in the South, including Gatlinburg, Tennessee, where I used to go every year for several years. So anyway, it's a great market. I love it. I'm glad to be a participant, and hopefully I might have something to add here for the board from time to time. So I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome. All right. Next up is approval of the minutes from the previous meeting. Do we have a motion for approval?
As long as that one went on, how do we know? I'll second it.
Moved by Mr. Shetty. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes?
No, we'll do them later.
Well, no, we actually have to deal with them now, if anyone notices any. Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed, same sign. Okay, the minutes are approved. Now's the time on the agenda for public input. Is there anyone who wishes to address the advisory board? Please step. Okay. Is there a place to sign in on the table?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Please sign your name on the table. Well, on the paper on the table.
You can sit down.
And you
Dave.
can, sit in the chair and speak into the microphone. Please let us know your name and where you live.
The microphone is.
The microphone is not there. Okay.
Yeah, I think you guys can probably.
We can hear you. All right.
My name is Dave Salmon. I'm a Dragonfire Pizza, the food truck, or one of the food trucks. Participated in the market part of last year, and I'm really excited about seeing it this coming year. What other information do you need from me to get started?
That's all. Thank you.
I was going to take a cue and say, back in 1979, April 10th, once upon a time, when I got started as a person.
I will say that you have 5 minutes.
Kind of burned 30 seconds out there. And then, so, fast forwarding quite a few years. What's that?
You got birth certificate? Or
I do, as a matter of fact. I'd be happy to provide that at any time. a few years from then. I want to congratulate all of you all on the recent accolades that your band market's gotten. That's a really exciting thing. It's just a really exciting market to be a part of. So I'm honored and flattered to be involved in it. And I'm also excited to see so many friendly faces that I've known before here. One thing that I wanted to bring up is I want to pose to you all is the traffic flow of the market. So in the market handbook, it shows the traffic flow where most lanes go south and then east, and then they take that last road north to get out, to exit the market. Now, the only challenge with that is all the food trucks have the windows on the passenger side, which means all the food trucks in that last northbound row are actually pointed southbound, which means that there's always challenge with the traffic flow as the market exits. So I don't know if you all were aware of that or not, but just because the food trucks have to point the opposite direction, it does create a little bit of, I'll call it turbulence, towards the end. And I think that's why a lot of the other vendors choose not to go all the way to that end row and go up, because they know they're going to be staring down the front end of 5 or 6 food trucks at any given time. So that's something that I would just love to see addressed at some point in time. I recognize that it's probably not going to happen this year. It's something for us to back your months. My 5 minutes up yet?
You got more time.
I've got some good jokes. No, that's all.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What would be your solution? What's wrong with it?
What I would love to see, and this is from a food truck perspective, is that north lane. I would love to see that designated for food trucks on the north edge of the parking lot. That way, food trucks could pull in from what is that, Walnut Street or entryway there, and then they could pull up. And quite honestly, if it were me, I would do it. I would do food trucks just first come, first serve. I wouldn't assign spaces. I'd have the first one pull all the way to the end, second one pull all the way up behind them, and just whatever order they got there. And that way, when they went to leave, they could literally just make that left turn, and then all the traffic flow down below, south of that, could follow what the market handbook would suggest. I recognize there's some challenges with that. I'm not sure that's a perfect solution, but from a traffic flow standpoint, that will make it a lot easier for the food trucks, which are usually kind of bulky and some of them are trailers, and so sometimes they're a little bit difficult to do. Just a thought. Any other questions?
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll work on that. Seeing no other members of the public here, we'll move on to staff report.
Thank you. The staff report was included in the agenda and packet that we sent out, and I would like to go over a couple of things. As Dave mentioned, we were in the news recently, noted as #1 on the list of the top 10 farmers markets to visit in Illinois. So that was exciting to hear, and we have received a lot of nice feedback from that. So very exciting. It's an honor. Moving on to the SNAP, EBT, and WIC update, the market applied for a $5,000 grant from Link Up Illinois to provide administrative and promotional support for SNAP at the farmers market. This is not the double value that we've received in the past. This is specifically for administrative assistance and to help promote the SNAP program at the farmers market. When I wrote this and sent it out, I did not hear back from the grant yet, but we have heard back, and we did receive the full $5,000. It'll be $2,500 this season and $2,500 next season, and that's great because it does help us support staff and the time that it takes to run the program and to promote it and hopefully get more folks out shopping at the farmers market. We're also exploring opportunities for new ways to expand our SNAP and WIC programming. Just as a side note, I met with the WIC coordinator from Champaign County office today, and we have some good ideas on how we can help educate the community that there are special vouchers specifically for farmers markets given to WIC clients. And there are changes to the program this year for WIC clients. Rather than receiving a booklet of $3 checks in June and another booklet of $3 checks in July that are good through October, they've changed it. There won't be any checks provided in June. they'll be provided July 1st. They're valid through the end of October, and they're in $5 increments. The total amount of the booklet hasn't changed, just the amount per check. So it's a $5 check now rather than a $3 check. So I'm working with the WIC coordinator to get all of this information bullet pointed out with details on who to contact if any of the vendors that are eligible to accept these WIC vouchers. If they have questions, they can get a hold of us. And the nutritionists are going to work very closely with the clients to make sure there isn't any confusion about the change in the way the booklets are distributed this year. There's also change to the senior vouchers, and we'll be sure that those that same information is relayed to those clients as well. Moving on, in regards to the Illinois Farmers Market Association, we're assisting with planning a workshop in November for farmers market vendors and managers and anybody else who's interested. And we attached in the packet a little promotional flyer. It's still kind of preliminary. We're still a few months away from November, but we have a place, we have a location, we have a time and a date, and so there'll be more information closer to time, but just giving you a heads up about that. In regards to some promotional events, staff attended the Governor's Conference on Travel and Tourism to promote the Illinois Farmers Market Association and Urbana's Market at the Square. We passed out tons of the Market at the Square postcards and had a lot of great information out there for folks in the tourism industry, and we think that it's a great connection, especially helping explain the economic impact of farmers markets on communities, and it's a point of it's a destination for tourists when they come and visit. Also, Autumnberry Inspired and the Right Soapery, both vendors from Urbana's Market at the Square, provided over 400 samples of their product to all the attendees at that conference. So that was pretty great to see some Central Illinois products in those bags. Sterling Bowman and I attended 2 events last week to help promote the start of the farmers market season. The first was the Working Women's Expo on April 21st, and the second was the University of Illinois Community Credit Union Shredapalooza on April 23rd. Both were very successful events. We had a lot of great conversations with people that are really excited for the market to start. So excited that at the Working Women's Expo we had 400 people sign up for our market mail. That's the weekly email we send out giving people the lowdown on what to expect at the market that Saturday. So that bumped our numbers up to over 2,000 subscribers on that list that we send out info about the market. So we're pretty excited. Thanks, Sterling, for your help. Talking about programming, Read at the Market, Bike to Market, Art and Performance at the Market, and Sprouts at the Market will all continue this year. In addition, we're adding chef demonstrations on the first Saturday of each month. And Farm Fresh and Fast, that's the recipe cards that we send out each week featuring seasonal ingredients, and we cook on CI Living. We're doing that again this year. I was actually just there a half hour ago pre-recording for the segment to go out next week. We're printing extra cards, and we're going to give them out to the vendors to have at their booths. So as those items or those ingredients in the recipes become available, you can have some recipe cards to give to your customers. Moving on to market staffing, congrats to Sterling, who's been promoted from market aide to market assistant. In addition to working many Saturdays this season, Sterling will also be in the office helping out with market staff, especially with SNAP reconciliation, marketing and promotions, and grant management. Thumbs up. We've also hired 2 market aides and 2 market laborers to take place of 4 staff that are unable to come back to market this season. We'll have a new blue staff t-shirt, so when you see these folks, be sure to say hi. And last but not least, budgeting. Market staff submitted a draft of our budget for the next fiscal year, which begins on July 1st. We submitted our suggestions to the Community Development Director and the Finance Director, and then that is reviewed and made available to City Council to discuss and decide upon later this spring and summer. So once we have that final budget available, we'll be sure that everyone is made aware of that. And that's my staff report.
Thank you. Any questions for Natalie? I did have one question on the SNAP update. Will we also be getting our usual grant for the actual double value program?
I'm hopeful. The
Okay.
application hasn't been made available yet, but when and if it does, we will be sure to apply.
Okay.
I think that having received this other grant, separate pots of money, so they don't affect one another, but I think being a recipient of that grant will put us in a good position to receive double value funding if and when that becomes available.
And is it still 5,000, the maximum?
That's what we have requested in the past and received.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
But we are trying to find some new ways to have double value funding available, so we're working on that.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Okay. We'll move on to new business, which is continuing to look at the Market of the Square strategic plan, and we're in the process of updating the strategic plan.
Do you want me to-
Natalie?
Sure. Should I read the background of this, or have I read the background to everyone?
Has everyone read their memo?
Should I just cut to the chase?
Okay.
All
You
right.
could summarize it if you'd like.
I will try my best.
Okay.
All right. So in 2010, the Community Development Department began a process to create a strategic plan for Urbana's Market at the Square. It was in response to City Council's goals to incorporate the market as part of the city's environmental sustainability and economic development goals, and really plan for the future of the market. So a steering committee was developed, and it really helped to guide the planning process. And part of that effort, the committee gathered data, conducted a lot of outreach, including public meetings, a survey, and an open house. That committee studied the history of the market as well as trends and issues at that point back in 2010. And from that information, the market created a mission statement and developed a set of goals and implementation strategies. The plan was approved in late 2011, and many of its recommendations have been implemented, and the strategic plan also was the reason or the push behind starting the Urbana's Market at the Square Advisory Board. So now, just over 5 years since the plan was approved, it's a great time to review and update the goals and implementation strategies. To do that, we started first, staff did, with implementing a survey, and we kicked that off earlier this year in January. And we did that to gain feedback on the market's current strategic goals and determine if they're still relevant and whether there should be new goals pursued. The survey was directed to past and present Market at the Square vendors, community groups, and patrons. The survey was open for about a month, and over 300 surveys were received. The survey results were shared with the Market at the Square Advisory Board and discussed at the February 18th meeting. At the March 17th special meeting, the Market at the Square Advisory Board was joined by a facilitator, Deborah Kavanaugh Grant of New Leaf Consulting, and she assisted in reviewing the current Market at the Square mission statement and goals. The advisory board members present at the March 17th meeting affirmed the Market at the Square mission. Maybe I should read that. The mission says, Urbana's Farmers Market is a vibrant market that connects the community with local food growers and producers, strengthens our local food economy, provides access to local artisans, and serves as a community gathering place. After the advisory board affirmed that mission, it proceeded to refine the 10 goals stated in the 2011 strategic plan and refine that into 7 new draft priorities, which are noted in the attached document. Also at the March 17th special meeting, staff asked that the Market at the Square Advisory Board review those 7 new draft priorities in order to discuss them today and hopefully affirm them. Additionally, staff recommended that the Market at the Square Advisory Board begin to draft a series of initiatives or action steps as the means to work towards achieving the 7 priorities. So that's where we are today.
Okay, and then today our job is to, did we actually officially approve the 7 priorities last time? Okay. And then begin discussion about specific initiatives to implement each of these priorities. So if you've got your binder that was prepared for you, if you turn to the strategic plan on page, well, it's after page 32 of the strategic plan, there's a list of the old goals and the implementation strategies that were developed for them, and then Natalie updated, provided the status on each of those implementation strategies. So if you're in the strategic plan, after page 32, I believe,
But aren't we
you
doing
should see.
these now?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, we can look at the old ones and see which ones haven't been completed yet, which ones are done, and it's a starting point for the discussion. So,
I don't wanna go through that.
no, we don't want to start from the beginning again, no. So do we need to officially approve the mission then?
We did that at the last
We
meeting.
did that,
Yep.
okay.
So the mission was affirmed by the board. The next step really is to ensure that those 7 initiatives that the board created are the initiatives that,
Okay.
the priorities that we would like to move forward with.
And then we should vote on those, I would
Yes.
expect. Okay,
Mhm.
Are we gonna go through each one at a time?
sure, yeah, we should make sure we're
Because,
all,
you know, along your lines, number 3 wasn't completed of the old goals, and I could see we could incorporate it into number 6 here,
okay.
but when we get to it. I
All
mean,
right. Well, we'll start with number 1, which was ensure that the provision of a variety of fresh, healthy, local, high-quality foods remains the cornerstone of the market. Any feedback, response on that?
Well, I think that's good, as we decide that's why people come to the market.
Okay. All right.
Stan, is your microphone turned on?
No,
Can you press the button?
there it is. You can't hear me?
Well, it's not for us, it's for the
I don't
recording.
want them to hear me. There's a reason. There's a strategy behind this.
Pretty-
This is a
pretty
public,
please?
this is a
Yeah, I
public
wanna say,
body. We
you
need
know.
to speak for the
Okay,
the
well, I
listening
wanna pull that
public as
word.
well. Well, we'll need to filter. Okay, so number 1, we're all agreed? All right. Number 2 is
Don't
in,
we need to figure out, don't we need to figure out how we're gonna implement it?
yes, but I think it'd be good to settle on the wording of these 7 main strategies, and then we can get into details. Number 2 is enhance the quality of life in Urbana and the surrounding community by providing community activities which foster social gathering and interaction. Any comments or questions about that one? Okay. We okay? All right. Number 3 is promote the market as an educational forum for consumers to learn the uses and benefits of quality, locally grown or prepared foods.
Do we want that to say and/or prepared foods?
And locally grown and
And/or.
or prepared foods. Okay. Does that work for everyone? Okay. Number 4 is enhance the market's role in the local food system and the local economy. Any comments on that one? We're all set. All right. Consider future growth of the market and ensure that it remains consistent with the market's mission and remains as a financially self-sufficient program of the city of Urbana. All right. Comment?
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry. It's not currently a financially or self-sufficient program, correct? So we say it remains as a financially, but it isn't one yet.
The budget that we drafted for this coming fiscal year moves us to nearly completely financially self-sufficient, yes.
Okay,
Yep,
Okay.
we are almost there.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so do we want to leave the word remains there or change? That's okay with you? Okay. All right. Encourage a dynamic, high-quality growers market.
Okay, like I mentioned, number 3, last meeting wasn't fully discussed, or it didn't go off the wall. 2 of the bullet points we had on there was vendor profitability and a grower's market. Well, the grower's market made it in this statement, but the vendor profitability didn't. And I think you guys both got the thing from Leslie that said vendor's profits equals market success. So I think we need to get vendor's profits in that wording. I'll just show something out, and you guys can beat it up if you want. But what I thought was ensure vendor profits in a high-quality growers market for a healthy farmers market. And then that is your goal, and then we go underneath that with the implementation ideas.
Okay, do you want to read that again, please?
Ensure vendor profits in a high-quality growers market for a healthy farmers market. And it pretty much says the same thing, but it's got vendors' profits in there because, you know, we've all talked about that. You know, I've probably beat it to death, but
I just have one question. As a staff person, what I'm going to hope to look at and get from this new set of priorities and initiatives that we come up with are ways to measure whether or not we are meeting or working towards achieving these goals. And the word ensure that you tossed out, ensure, what was it, Stan? Grower?
vendor profits
Ensure vendor
and a
profits.
high-quality growers market.
It will be hard for me as a staff person to know whether or not we are ensuring that vendor profits are,
Okay, to put encourage
Because
back in there then.
we don't,
Put
we
the
don't
word
receive that
encourage.
information from vendors.
Put the wording, well, when we get into implementation, there'll be some ways that you'll know through the advisory board as we go through this. I mean, when we get into that. But you can put encourage back in there if you want.
I'm just
Because, you know,
just
otherwise,
tossing it
I
out.
run some numbers. If you want me to go through that, I actually put some dollar figures on this if you want to go through it now or later. I mean,
I was just making a comment.
No, I
want to
know.
make sure that we
Yeah,
can.
good point.
It's easy to understand how to implement and measure all of these, and be able to report on that, so that we
Right.
know we're working towards achieving all of these
and like I said,
priorities.
when we get to the implementation, it'll make more sense to you.
Maybe a wording something like provide an environment that supports
You got to have
that
vendor
supports vendor success.
profitability. Success and profitability is different. Because we're back to saturation, and we can get into that later on. But, you know, and that's where the implementation will come in to ensure that. Because, yeah, I agree, you're not going to get the financials of everybody. We talked about the last meeting, because, you know, how much you make. You ain't going to tell me, so I ain't going to tell you how much I make. It's just not.
It's public record.
Well, I mean, you and your husband, I mean, as people just don't disclose their money, and, you know, that's going to be hard to figure out. But you can tell by the vendor, and like I say, if you have, well, we'll get into it later about implementation. But the advisory board can lead you in that direction.
I do think it's something that we need to discuss now, though, because if I'm sorry, I keep saying we, if the advisory board is hopeful to affirm these priorities, I think that the wordsmithing needs to probably be done now, before we move on to filling in the initiatives for each of these priorities.
Well, first, we'll need full representation of all the groups. Like the food trucks are not represented yet up here. And, you know, we got arts and crafts now. I don't know what we're missing yet.
Community group,
Well, they don't get money. I'm just talking about the people that receive.
but they're on,
Okay,
there's
they
a
could be
seat
on
for
it.
them on
I'm
the
just
board.
worried about, you know, the money that changes hands. Because community groups and the music people, even though they're part of the market, they're not taken away from the market financially. as far as cash. But I'm sure Dave would know how things are going. I mean, you got to trust your advisory board, but we would have, what we'd have is a post-harvest, because we talked about having a pre-harvest look at the vendor ratios and everything, and I understand conflict of interest. Well, you could do that post-harvest, post-market. I'm farmer thinking here. After the market's over with, you meet with your advisory board, and we go through it. And like I say, you got to trust them. But like Dave would know what the food trucks are doing, or Kelly, or whoever that representative is. I would know what the meat section is. Kent would know his. Bob and Shay would know theirs, and we could report to you on saturation or what we need or not. I mean, like right now, obviously we need strawberry growers. You don't know that, but we know that
The
because
customers let us know.
you can't rely on all the customers. It's like you said last time, they want rabbit and duck. Well, there's a reason rabbit and duck's not there. They ask, and in our business, we get asked stuff, and we'll try it, but you've only got one or two people asking. So is it a product that we can make money at as a producer? And that's where then lies, like I'm sure Robert gets asked things to grow, and if he can't make money at it, either it's a lost lead or he's not going to grow it. So sometimes the customer asks for things that's not just financially sound for us to grow it. And I'm just speaking for growers. I don't know about arts and crafts and everything, but we're in this to make a living. So we have to make a profit. So sometimes, I'm not saying the customer's wrong, but sometimes you got to rely on your vendors to tell you what's going on. And we know what's going on amongst our vendors, because that's just our business. I know what's going on with the meat people, so that's just our business. So at the end of the season, you could review that, and then as far as the profitability, you would, it would just be advice. It'd be where the advisory council, but we'd say, okay, this is what you need to do, and then you go from there.
Yeah,
How
that's
about-
why we're here.
How about, I'm just listening to what you're saying, I'm getting back to finding a way to put this into a short,
I
succinct.
flunked English, so
Okay.
don't make it too long, because it blurs my brain.
Well, here, how about this? Encourage a dynamic, high-quality growers market by seeking input from vendors.
Profitability's got to be in there. I can go through these numbers and show you the
Seeking input from vendors regarding profitability and balance of vendors in the
You're
market.
getting long there.
I know, but I'm trying to capture what you're saying.
Number 5 is over 2 sentences, so that's a long one. But I don't know. I just want profitability in there and ensure a grower's market. It'd be like the arts and crafts. Take, for instance, you got somebody reselling, buying junk off online and knock off and selling it out here. You don't want that. So we have to, and I don't know how that would be policed, but we have to have a way to police some of that. And I think you would know, because I wouldn't know if it's a knockoff or not. You'll know, because that's what you do. And if you're on advisory council, you could have input on that and say, well, we got too many of this or too many of this or blah, blah, blah.
How about encourage a dynamic, high-quality growers market by seeking feedback from vendors regarding profitability and
Can we
balance of.
can we not sneak it into number 4 where it says enhance the market's role in the local food system, vendor profitability, and local economy? So we're already talking.
Well, then you're going to have to move growers market, because I think that goes with it. Profitability also goes with ensuring it's a true market, a grower's market. And I've got some action items on that also, how to do that. But
We do have more than growers at the market, though. I want to make sure that, we are aligned with our
Just like I mentioned in the
mission.
arts and crafts, it's got to be pure. They've got to make it,
So maybe we should say producer-only market?
well, no, then you don't include the arts and
Well,
crafts.
actually, I like Shay's suggestion.
I think we should keep number 6, but I think we should just add in vendor profitability into number 4.
After local food system. Enhance the market's role in the local food system, vendor profitability, and the local economy.
I wasn't listening. I was still thinking. What did you say?
Enhance the market's role in the local food system, vendor profitability, and in the local economy.
I mean, if it's there, it don't matter, just so it's in there.
It's in there.
But back to Natalie's point, it don't matter if it's a grower or any vendor there, and I'm not thinking probably of everybody, but, you know, somebody makes something and puts their sweat into it, you know?
Then
They
they're
don't
the
want s-
producer.
Huh?
Then they
Yeah.
are the producer of that product.
Okay, I think producer is farmer, but you know,
Think of the word artisan.
Don't I understand that there's already a provision that does not allow resale of
Well,
products? So that's a moot point. It doesn't
Supposedly.
really apply. And it's not a concern of ours because it's already been accounted for. Nobody's allowed to resale products, is that correct, Natalie? So all the products are supposed to be made by the vendors themselves. So I don't know that we need to even include something that accounts for resale of various items,
then you're speaking for your field.
the whole market.
Well, no, because it does
Well,
happen in
if
our
you-
area, and
if
that's
you-
what, we've got to tighten it down a little bit, because it's gotten way out of hand.
So we're on number 6, encourage a dynamic, high-quality
Then you go to the growers market,
growers market, back
Right.
to growers market.
and which is there.
Okay, so that one's all right.
But, okay, then we can hit action items later.
Yeah, and then number 7 is promote the inclusion of stakeholders in the decision-making process for the market. Okay.
Reword 4, so I get that down, I didn't write it
So,
down.
number 4 is enhance the market's role in the local food system, vendor profitability, and the local economy.
Okay.
Number 6 remains encourage a dynamic, high-quality growers market. And then number 3, we added and/or, locally grown and/or prepared foods. Okay. Any other comments? This is just these 7 statements, and then we'll get into action items. Okay. Is there a motion to approve these drafts, these strategic priorities for the updated strategic plan?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All those, any other discussion? Questions, comments? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. Those are the priorities. Now, how do we want to start tackling implementation or action items?
I just want to make one note that we are at 4:40, and I do want to be aware of everyone's time and schedule this evening. Some of our previous meetings were special meetings that we called with a longer period of time to meet to talk about this. So I don't think that we need to decide all of these initiatives this evening. But I think that if we can talk a little bit about some of the initiatives that will set us up well to continue that discussion. I don't think this is something that we have to race to complete. And with the market season opening in just a few days, that we might receive some ideas and input from some of your colleagues out at the market as initiatives that we can work into this. So it took over a year to put the first strategic plan together, and I think that it's okay if it takes us a few months to get this update together. Just my thoughts.
Yeah, we'll plan on adjourning at 5 o'clock. Some of us have to get over and get our marathon packets. Okay. Shall we just start with number 1 and work our way through?
Can we do 7 first?
Okay, we can start with number 7.
I think that's important.
Okay.
Work
For this
backwards.
next year.
The inclusion of stakeholders in the decision-making process. All right.
Sorry. Try to get all representation here at the advisory council, because I know you got to go through city council and blah, blah, blah. So, we need food trucks on board, and I don't know who else, I don't,
Community groups.
they need to be on too?
That's at this time, the only seat open on the advisory board is for a community group. The way the ordinance reads, there are 4 seats for growers or farmers. 2 of those seats are for newer farmers to the market, and 2 are for farmers that have been here for over 4 years. There's a seat for an art and craft vendor. There is a seat for a resident of the city of Urbana. There is a seat for an Urbana business representative. And then there is a seat for a community group. And then we are working towards adding a seat to the advisory board specific to food trucks. Therefore, all the categories within the farmers market are,
So you got a year to do it, basically. I mean, you can have it done by next year, or by the end of this season.
hopefully by next meeting, but
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And adding the seat for the food truck would be an ordinance.
Correct. So that's
Right,
why it's taken
right.
a little
Okay,
while
okay,
longer.
gotcha,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So are you in the process of preparing that ordinance?
I'm trying to find something similar that's happened with another board or commission to use as a template to
Okay.
push that forward. Yes.
So that will
Not to
done.
be a pain, but
Okay.
then does Robert cover the fruits and vegetables and all that? I mean, you do sell.
Shay, Bob, Kent, and Stan, you're the 4 farmers that are represented on the board.
Okay.
Brian is the art and craft vendor. Carrie is the Urbana resident. Paris is the Urbana business representative.
So then
and
we'll
so
need
we're
to,
missing the community group representative.
so then we need to reach out to those folks.
Yes,
Okay.
that is a tough group to get a volunteer to commit
Okay.
to this. They have to be a community group that attends as a community group at the farmers market.
No, I mean the fruit folks, the fruits and that sort of thing, peaches and apples and all that. We need to, as farmers, we need to reach out to those folks and
For-
get their input. Okay.
Okay. Well, that was the easy one.
That's why I did it.
Good for you. Which one do you want to do next? Let's just go that way.
Is that all we want to say about the inclusion of the stakeholders in decision-making process?
Last time we had 2 goals. One was to periodically update the strategic plan, and the other one was creating the advisory board. So the actual creation of the advisory board came out of the first strategic plan. So yeah, any other suggestions?
I mean, I think as an advisory board, we should have more voting privileges. Is that applicable?
How does that, can you explain?
As far, like for instance, with the 25% increase, I feel like as an advisory board, we should have known and maybe been a little bit more included on that decision than we were. So having some kind of more of a voice in the decision-making process instead of just hearing about it after the fact.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, were there more?
Not at this time.
Response? Staff?
If that's what the advisory board wants to include as an initiative, yeah. It's also maybe as going through and suggesting initiatives, the advisory board remember the duties, roles, and responsibilities that were laid out in the ordinance, as it is an advisory board. So there are differences between the types of boards and commissions at the city of Urbana, this one being specifically an advisory board as laid out in the ordinance that created the board with the first strategic plan. So, pardon? Maybe not.
Yeah, an advisory board can provide input, but they aren't participating in actual decision-making in terms of setting financial policies.
I mean,
But-
for that example of the 25% increase, we didn't get to provide any input.
Okay, no, I understand. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, I thought we had also discussed about having more of a voice as far as reviewing applicants for the market.
Well, that's my post-market idea, because the conflict of interest thing, we're not going to get over. We're not going to get through that. I guarantee you that. because Leslie even has problems at Green City.
Mhm.
But if we do a post, it's just a year later. So if we do a post-market review, and we go through all the vendors that she has down, and say there was 5 tomato people, 3 meat people, we go over that and we give her our suggestions. Like, I'll just speak up for the meat, we're saturated, so we need to do something. Because she's got in the rules now that it's in her discretion to say no to a vendor if we got too much stuff. It wasn't in there before.
Okay.
It's in the rules now, so she can say, right, am I correct?
Correct.
So, it wasn't in there before.
Okay.
So we give advice to her, and like I say, we break a few bones, and then we strong arm her, and we say, okay, no, just joking. But that would
So-
address that.
So you're looking for more than the annual report that I provide each season that does a recap of everything? Or more reporting than that? Or
Just a
would
vendor
you,
breakdown of how many, and I probably, maybe you do it and I don't see it.
yeah, it's in the annual report that I present to council each year. But if
We'd have a
a meeting
specific meeting for that to give you guidance for the new season.
sure.
And then, and we do a spreadsheet, whatever, and we give it to you, after the meeting, we give it to you, and you do with what you want.
Oh, we've got spreadsheets.
I
If you
know.
want spreadsheets,
But I think that would be helpful, and I see the conflict of interest thing doing a pre, I
Right.
understand that, but a post, it's already happened, so,
So this would be a post-market review
But-
meeting to,
But that goes in number 4. That I see in number 4, because that's directly tied to vendor profitability.
okay.
I mean, I can speak to that if you want to talk about it, but
I would love to have a post-market recap with the advisory board. It would be beneficial to staff to have an opportunity to meet and go through all of those spreadsheets and reports. It gives us an opportunity to get some feedback, and I think it would provide us with a stronger annual report that we would present to council.
you have an educated, or you know what's going on, to the vendor side of things. It's our job then to talk to other vendors
Right.
and give that feedback. And like I say, you got to trust us. And if you got a shyster, well, then you got to get them off, or because if I'm going to pat it because I could see that happening too.
So back to Shay's suggestion, basically another thing would be the stakeholders would provide input on proposed market policies. Would that cover it?
Right, I like that. And then you had on the old one, it
Okay.
said revisit it. I think it needs to be revisited too.
Periodically revisit
Right.
the strategic plan.
Right.
Yeah. But this would be annually provide input on proposed market policies. Okay, and that could be done at a regular advisory meeting, I would think. Okay, so we've got 3 things there. We've got the advisory board composition. We've worked on getting food trucks added. We've got the annual input on proposed market policies, and we'll periodically revisit the market strategic plan. So that's 3 under this one. Any others for stakeholder input?
Am I allowed to make a suggestion?
Well, absolutely.
This is for number 4. And we're,
Work on number 4? Okay.
yeah,
We're done with number 7?
sorry.
Okay.
This is not. I mean, we still will go over it again, I think.
Oh, yes.
Right,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, yeah.
We're just getting some
Right.
stuff out there
Right, right.
that will give you some opportunity to review that with your colleagues at the market.
Okay.
And
All right, let's move
Yes.
on to number 4, which is the market's role in the food system, vendor profitability, and local economy.
it might already be in there from the previous one, but increase collaboration and coordination with regional farmers markets. As a market manager, that's very beneficial to me to know what other markets are doing and how their rules and regulations work, what their policies are, what they're doing for inspections, if there's a way that we can work together on inspections, especially regionally when a lot of our farmers market vendors participate in multiple farmers markets. It's helpful to have that collaboration, especially in regards to visiting farms, kind of working together since I know farmers market managers aren't typically full-time staff, a lot of them are volunteers, and so if we can work together, that's helpful.
This is larger cities, but I know there's some, I don't know if it'd work here, but there's some, like an umbrella organization that does that. And then when we get into this market saturation thing, you got a new vendor wanting to come on. Well, you can't go to Urbana because it's filled up. But that umbrella would know, well, you can go here, you can go here, you can go here. So that organization would be able to direct that grower or any vendor, I want to say, to another market where he could. So I could see where that would be. You know, you'd work with Champaign Market, you could work. So there'd be, here's a spot here, you can go here. So he would have other options besides just getting turned down here. But I don't know how that would all work with some are city, some are private. I don't know how that would all work, but
Yep.
and where the money would go for, you know. But even the inside market, same thing. You know, you'd work with those folks.
There is a group for that, and it's called the Illinois Farmers Market Association. The Illinois Stewardship Alliance works really closely, and so does the Land Connection.
Could that be regional then, instead of being statewide, or?
What's within the state of Illinois? I mean, that's what that's what I'm talking
Probably.
about. Because for us, with Urbana's market at the square, we focus on within the state of Illinois. When you get up north, those markets, they consider local to be Michigan, Wisconsin, and on and on. So
I guess if a new vendor come on and say Decatur or somewhere, a drive was the only option, that'd be better than nothing.
right. So my suggestion was increase collaboration and coordination with regional farmers markets as one of the initiatives.
In the past, we had worked with appropriate public agencies and elected officials to ensure the viability of local food, build and maintain relationships with food-related organizations, agencies, and businesses that contribute to the local food system, connect existing and potential vendors to existing certified kitchen resources to support local food entrepreneurs. And all of those are ongoing at this point.
While we're on 4, let's do the post.
Okay.
Market.
What would you suggest?
You can word it. Natalie knew what I wanted to do. Post-harvest, not really survey, but
Post-market recap? Is that what you...
vendor recap, I guess, something, I don't know, something like that.
Conduct an annual post-market vendor recap?
Do you want all the vendors there, like a full?
No.
Okay.
No, shit. I mean, no, it's, you just provide us the spreadsheet and the
Correct.
advisory council then goes over it.
Spreadsheet review session?
No, 'cause
just-
you got
I know.
too many spreadsheets.
I know. Well, we've got a lot.
This is specifically for the vendor numbers per product, or, you know, instead of doing pre, we do it post.
We'll find a word for it.
Conduct an annual post-market recap.
Yeah.
Are you wanting this broken down per crop? Or, I say crop, but like per
I thought per
product.
category.
So vegetable.
Per vendor category?
Yeah, you've got, I mean, you know, that could get pretty crazy too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the vendors have multiple categories. Well, the way
And
we
I-
have it broken up in the market application this year was grower, value-added food, mobile food vendor, community group, art and craft. That was more categories than previous. That's the most categories we've had
Right.
of the applications I've reviewed from the market.
But I would envision, and I know this would just be the first one and we'd have to fine tune it, but it would get more specific as we go. Say a grower's got, I'll use me as an example. We've got meat and we've got eggs. If I start to thinking I'm going to start selling produce, you say, no, you can't. We got too many.
And we have spreadsheets for that too.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. As we do this, you know, and it would take a little bit, but as the advisory board, like I said, we know our own thing, and if we don't, we talk to the folks out there. We could start fine tuning this thing a little bit more, and say, okay, you know, this is what we need. Like I said earlier, strawberries, you know, they sell it by 10 o'clock. You know, last year because of the blight, it was worse. So and I'm not even a strawberry grower, but I could see that. But we could use that as a tool then to manage the market down the road, and that, to me, is tied to vendor profitability.
So maybe something like conduct a post-market analysis of vendor categories and products.
Yeah, I like that.
Conduct an annual post-market analysis of vendor categories.
Natalie, does the Manage My Market site, does that,
Okay.
Spreadsheets.
does it spit
Reports.
like,
Yep.
can it spit everybody, so mine and Bob's and, you know?
Whatever a vendor puts in as their product,
Uh-huh.
when they apply to market, when you enter in all the products, it will spit that out. Some vendors are very specific, but others can't be as specific. Like Kent, for example, there's some things that you grow, right, that aren't on that product list,
Yeah.
or because
They don't
it's
make them yet,
right.
or it's not in the system.
Or there might be a specific variety of tomatoes, of heirloom tomatoes that aren't listed on there. It might say heirloom tomatoes and then varieties, and you could put like 8 varieties or something like that. And then there's a note section where you can get even more specific like that. So that is probably the most info that we've been able to get. Otherwise, when we had paper applications before, vendors would just write tomatoes, green peppers, onions. They wouldn't be as specific, where this system forces the vendor to be more specific. And my hope with this system is that the vendor spends a little more time in creating this profile, especially if they plan to attend multiple markets in this area. Now that, I mean, I could list, this many markets in downstate Illinois that are all using the same application system.
So my question is, will that spit out and say, Swiss chard, you have 6 vendors selling Swiss chard?
Correct.
Great.
Okay, that should be
I
helpful.
see that helping you
Mm-hmm.
down the road,
Yes.
yeah, so, anyway.
Well, we're approaching 5 o'clock. Is there any other new action item that you'd like to consider under number 4? Okay. Well, we got 2 of these done. I would say think about the other priorities. Would it help to send suggestions in ahead of time so that we could?
If you think of initiatives as the market starts, and write them down or email them or call and let one of us know. What I'd like to do is make those couple of edits that you made to the priorities and get those printed out, and then give them some copies to you. That way you can share them. We can share them with the participants of the market. That way you can get the feedback you were talking about from those at the market and give us some feedback.
Natalie, is your plan or goal to have the same kind of chart that we did last time, or put this in a different format? I'm just.
I like the one you had, what's it called?
The program implementation matrix.
Yeah, it says, yeah.
that
Yeah,
was-
we'll have
Man like me can understand.
we'll have something similar to that.
Okay, so one thing we can do between now and the next meeting is look at what the goals were in the past, look at what our new priorities are, see what you want to keep, what we've completed, what we need to add, and to prepare for the next meeting.
Yep.
So if we want to keep the same format. Okay,
I've got till midnight going around, let's go.
I don't, sorry. I would say this is a good place to stop. Sounds good to everyone? All right. Is there do we have a next meeting date?
Next meeting is Thursday, July 28th, 4 to 5 p.m. right here,
That's
Council Chambers.
That's my birthday. Okay. Thursday, July 28th in this room is our next meeting, and so we'll be ready to continue talking about implementation goals for the strategic plan. Is there a motion for adjournment? Second?
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned.